Hello students, I hope you are doing well, studying properly and learning all your concepts. Sir Mohan Lal and soldiers. Let's read about this chapter. The short story was written in 48 at the time when India was becoming an independent nation free of British rule. Sir Mohan Lal, he looked himself in the mirror of first class waiting room at the railway station, and the mirror was obviously made in India. The red oxide at its back had come off at several places and long lines of translucent glass cut across its surface. Sir Mohan smiled at the mirror with an air of pity and patronage. You're so much like everything else in this country, inefficient, dirty and indifferent, उन्होंने बोला. The mirror smiled back at Sir Mohan. You're a bit of all right, old chapter, it said. Distinguished, efficient, even handsome. That neatly trimmed moustache, the suit for Savile Row with the carnation in the buttonhole, the aroma of eau de cologne, which is a perfume, talcum powder and scented soap all about you. तो mirror ने क्या बोला? You are beautiful. Yes, old fellow, you're a bit all right. Sir Mohan threw out his chest, smoothed his tie, waved a goodbye to the mirror. He glanced at his watch. There was still time for a quick one. Koi hai? Yes, is there somebody there? A bearer in white livery appeared through a wire gauze door. Ek chhota, ordered Sir Mohan and sank into a large cane chair to drink and ruminate. He had some time for a drink. Outside the waiting room, Sir Mohan Lal's luggage lay piled along the wall. On a small grey steel trunk, Lakshmi, Lady Mohan Lal, sat chewing a betel leaf and fanning herself with a newspaper. She was short and fat and in her middle 40s. What did she wear? Dirty white sari with a red border. One side of her nose glistened a diamond nose ring and she had several gold bangles in her arms. She had been talking to the bearer until Sir Mohan had summoned him inside. As soon as he had gone, she hailed a passing railway coolie. Where does the Zenana stop? Right at the end of the platform. The lady took to the coolie. The coolie flattened his turban to make a cushion, hoisted the steel trunk on his head and moved down the platform. Lady Lal picked up her brass tiffin carrier and ambled along behind him. On the way, she stopped by a hawker's stall to replenish her silver betel leaf case and then joined the coolie. She sat down on her steel trunk, which the coolie had put down now, and started talking to him. Are the trains very crowded on these lines? उसने पूछा. These days all the trains are crowded, but you'll find room in the Zenana. Then I might well get over the bother of eating. Lady Lal opened the brass carrier and took out a bundle of crammed and some mango pickle. While she ate, the coolie sat opposite to her on his haunches, drawing lines in the gravel with his finger. Are you travelling alone, sister? Asked the coolie. No, I am with my master, brother. He is in the waiting room. He travels first class. He is a barrister and meets so many officers and Englishmen in the trains. And I am only a native woman. Matlab the woman is native, so she can't travel in the first class. I can't understand English and don't know their ways. So I keep to my Zenana interclass. Lakshmi chatted away merrily. She was fond of a little gossip and had no one to talk to at home क्योंकि जो husband थे उनके पास कभी time नहीं होता था, and she lived in the upper story of the house and he on the ground floor. He did not like her poor illiterate relatives hanging about his bungalow, so they never came. जो लक्ष्मी के relatives थे, they were also never allowed in the house. He just ordered her about in anglicized Hindustani. He would talk in anglicized, matlab a weird, a foreign type of Hindi, and she obeyed passively. She would agree to whatever he said. The signal came down and the clanging of the bell announced the approaching train. Lady Lal hurried finished off her meal and she got up and started licking the fingers. She went to the public tap to rinse her mouth and wash her hands. After washing, she dried her mouth and hands with the loose end of her sari and walked back to her steel trunk, thanking the gods for the favour of a filling meal. The train steamed in. Lakshmi found herself facing an almost empty interclass Zanina compartment next to the guard's van at the tail end of the train. The rest of the train was very packed. She heard her squat, bulky frame through the door and found a sea by the window. There were a lot of people in the other coaches, but the interclass Zanina compartment was almost vacant. She produced a 2 anna bit from a notch in her sari and dismissed the coolie. She gave the coolie 2 anna. She then opened her beetle case and made herself 2 beetle leaves charged with a red and white paste, minced beetle, nuts and cardamoms. Then she thrust it into her mouth till her cheeks bulged on both the sides. Uske cheeks क्या थे बाहर निकलने लगे. Then she rested her chin on her hands and sat gazing idly at the jostling crowd on the platform. The arrival of the train did not disturb Sir Mohan Lal's coolness. He continued to sip the scotch and ordered the bearer to tell him when he had moved the luggage to a first-class compartment. Excitement, bustle and hurry were exhibitions of bad breeding. A person who is rich and classy should act कि वो excited नहीं है, he does not have a lot of ups and downs and should act subtle. And Sir Mohan was eminently well bred. He wanted everything ticket boo orderly. In his 5 years abroad, in the 5 years जिसमें वो बाहर रहे थे, Sir Mohan had acquired the manners and attitudes of upper classes. He rarely spoke Hindustani. When he did, it was like an Englishman's only, the necessary words and properly anglicized. He would speak only the important words in Hindustani. But he fancied his English finished and refined. He liked his English to be finished and complete. At no less than the University of Oxford. He was fond of conversations and liked a cultured Englishman. He could talk on almost any subject, foods, politics, people, etc. How frequently had he heard English people say that he spoke like an Englishman. He often liked travelling alone. It was a cantonment and some English officers might be on the train. His heart warmed at the prospect of an impressive conversation. He never showed any sign of eagerness to talk to the English as most Indians did, nor was he loud, aggressive and opinionated like him. So he was not like Englishmen. He went about his business with an expressionless matter of factness. He would retire to his corner by the window and get out of the Times. He would fold it, he would take a newspaper and he would fold it in which the name of the paper was visible to others while he did the crossword puzzle. So he would do a puzzle and make sure that everybody could see the newspaper he has. The Times always attracts attention. Someone would like to borrow in when he put it aside with a gesture signifying, I have finished it. Perhaps someone would recognize his tie which he wore while travelling. That would open a vista leading to a fairyland of Oxford colleges, masters, dons, tutors, boat races and rugger matches. If both the Times and the tie failed, what would he do? He would take out a gold cigarette case filled with English cigarettes. And how did English cigarettes get in India? How on earth did he get them? Sure, he didn't mind. And Sir Mohan's understanding smile, of course, he didn't. But could he use the Englishman as a medium to commune with his dear old England? Can he use the Englishman to talk to England? Those 5 years of grey bags and gowns, of sports blazers and mixed doubles, and of dinners at the Inns of Court. 5 years of a crowded, glorious life, worth far more than 45 in Indian, with his dirty, vulgar countrymen, with sordid details of the road to success. Sir Mohan's thoughts were disturbed by the bearer announcing the installation of Sahib's luggage in a first-class couple next to the engine. So, he was thinking when his thoughts were disturbed by Sahib. Sir Mohan walked to his coupe with a steadied gait. He was dismayed. The compartment was empty. With a sign, he sat down in a corner and opened the copy of the Times he had several times read before. Sir Mohan looked out of the window down the crowded platform. His face lit up as he saw 2 English soldiers trudging along, looking in all the compartments for room. They had their haversacks slung behind their backs and walked unsteadily. Sir Mohan decided to welcome them. Even though they were entitled to travel only second class, he would speak to the guard. So basically the soldiers were allowed only second class, but he thought that he would ask them to sit in the first. One of the soldiers came up to the last compartment and stuck his face through the window. He surveyed the compartment and noticed the unoccupied berth. "Air Bill," he shouted. "One near." His companion came up and looked in and looked at Sir Mohan. "Get in out," he muttered to his companion. They opened the door and turned to the half-smiling, half-protesting Sir Mohan. "Reserved," yelled Bill. "Janta reserved, army Fauji," exclaimed Jim into his shirt. So, Sir Mohan's Bill says, looking at Sir Mohan, that seat is reserved. So, what does Jim say? He says, "Janta reserved, army Fauji." He says it is reserved by a Fauji. "Ekdam jao, get out." The soldiers asked him to get out. I say surely," protested Sir Mohan in his Oxford accent. These soldiers paused. It almost sounded like English, but they knew better than to trust their inhabilitated ears. The engine whistled and the guards waved his green flag. They picked up Sir Mohan's suitcase and flung it into the platform. Then followed his thermos flask, suitcase, bedding and the Times. Sir Mohan was livid with rage. Preposterous, preposterous," he shouted, hoarse with anger. "I'll have you arrested, guard, he says to the guards that he'll have the soldiers arrested." Bill and Jim paused again. It did sound like English, but it was too much of the king's for them. It was too much strong for them. "Keep your ruddy mouth shut," and Jim struck Sir Mohan flat on the face. He struck and threw Sir Mohan out into the platform. The engine gave another short whistle and the train began to move. The soldiers caught Sir Mohan by the arms and flung him out of the train. He reeled backwards, stripped on his bedding and landed on the suitcase. "Toodaloo," he says, "bye." Sir Mohan's feet were glued to the earth and he had lost his speech. He stared at the lighted windows of the train going past him in quickening tempo. The tail end of the train appeared with a red light and there was a guard standing in the open doorway with flag in his hands. The interclass Zanina compartment was Lakshmi, fair and fat, on whose nose the diamond nose ring glistened against the station lights. Her mouth was bloated with beetle saliva. There was beetle saliva all over her mouth. Which he had been storing up to spit as soon as the train had cleared the station. As the train sped past like the lighted part of the platform, the Lady Lal spat and set a jet of red dribble flying across a dart. What did the lady do? She spat a whole red drizzle of beetle saliva. This is by Kushwant Singh. Word meanings: obviously, clearly, efficient, competent, bags, trousers, livery, uniform, carnation, flower, coupe, a half compartment in a carriage, preposterous, contrary to reason, or the cologne perfume made originally at Cologne, Quick one, quick drink. Ek chota, one small peg of whiskey. Ruminate, think. Hawker, one who hawks goods. Savile Row, a street in London famous for its tailors and suit makers. Inebriated, drunken. Scotch, Scotch whiskey. Inns of Court, it is buildings in London. Translucent, transmitted light. Jostling, knocking. Vista, a long succession of remembered events. Kings, the king's English correct, proper English, okay. Zenana, a carriage for women, and koi hai ka matlab is anybody there. Objective type questions. Sir Mohanlal looked at himself in the mirror which was made in India. These you will do on your own. Complete the lines. While she ate, the lady sat opposite to her on his haunches, drawing liners in the gravel with his fingers. Similarly, आप बाकी करोगे. Subjective type questions. How did the mirror look like in which Mohanlal saw himself at the station? It was broken, it had scratches, it looked indifferent and pathetic and dirty, just like everything else in this country according to Sir Mohan. Baki questions you'll do on your own. Writing skills. Write a paragraph on Gandhiji in 100 words. You have to write about Gandhiji, who was a freedom fighter. He is known as the father of this nation. Now we have grammatical skills. I have a dash dress. I have a beautiful dress. You have to rewrite the sentences correctly. He will tomorrow sit in the next row. Tomorrow he will sit in the next row. Similarly, you will do the rest. ये question भी आप ऐसे ही करोगे. Now you have to change the following adjective into adverb and make sentences. Happy क्या हो जाएगा? Happily. So I was swinging in the park happily with my friends. This is a sentence. ऐसी आप बाकी बनाओगे. These you'll do in the same manner. Activity skills. Parents are always right. Explain. So you have to explain this, how parents are always considered right, and whatever they say it for our own good and benefit. I hope you understood this chapter properly. Read it again and revise all the questions to understand it even better.